Whenever you all are ready. You're good? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this panel is going to be about volunteerism in your careers. And today we have Joseph Spiller with us. And Joseph, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody about the type of volunteer work you've been engaged with?
All right. So Joseph Spiller, I'm in my last semester here at USM in the sociology program. And for volunteer work, I've really been focusing on specifically anything that goes into community engagement, generally in health and wellness. So the most recent two were the literacy volunteers of Greater Augusta, now known as the Greater Kennebec Literacy Volunteers, and the community garden in Augusta. I commute here to USM.
Awesome, thank you. And tell us about how you found that volunteer position.
I actually found both through my internship, which started through the Career Hub, doing the health equity dialogues with Dr. Catherine Waterford-Darling and Dr. Valerie Rabinski of UMaine and the grad school up in UML.
Awesome. Is there an application process? Was there something you had to do to get that position? Just, I guess I'm trying to figure out how to draw parallels between applying for a job and applying for volunteer work to show how they're related.
Yeah, you still for the literacy volunteers, you still apply. The way they kind of go about it is they hold like an open house sort of deal with the pandemic and everything, where ours was a little different. It was over Zoom, but where anyone from the community, students can come in and learn about what they do first, so they have a good idea, and then you put in the application, tell them a little bit about what you're studying, what your interests are, and for the literacy volunteers, since it's not just literacy in the sense of reading, it can also be like technology literacy. They ask your general skills and interests to see what would be the best fit for you to do within the program.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And how did you initially anticipate that would fit with your career path or your program that you're in? Because sometimes I think when we do volunteer work, we don't necessarily think, oh, this is going to go on my resume. Oh, this is something I'm going to talk about in my job interviews. But it always ends up being the case. You develop skills. So how is it different from when you first started?
When I first started, I just knew that I was interested in helping. I didn't immediately connect it to what I was doing at the time. Since it was through an internship where we were talking about health and greater sense of community, it really highlighted to me that this is a part of health. And since I want to work within health research, I was like, okay, this is a way to interface with actual people. And luckily I had some pretty cool mentors that stress that when you get into the job market for anything, it's not specifically about, do you know how to do the job, but do you know how to work with diverse groups of people? Because it's not just going to be people that are interested in the same thing as you when you get out there. And that kind of opened my eyes a bit to what it really means to take on a new career and get into the field.
Yeah. So while you were volunteering, what were you doing?
So I focused on something I was good at. I'm pretty good with technology. I'm just a hobbyist, but I could pick it up really quickly. And it's something that I could show someone else to use. So for instance, there would be people that come that they've never used a cell phone. We're in Maine. It happens all the time. How do I say this? It's actually interesting in the way that you have to think about the way you do something and how you would break it down to someone that this is new to them. They're excited about it, and you want to keep with the excitement to them. So
yeah,
drawing the parallels between my own interests.
Yeah, are you like, you said it was a literacy program. Who are you working with? Was it kids? Was it English as a second language?
It was, mostly English as a second language and older individuals that like traditional forms of education don't really mesh with what they really need and trying to get out.
Yeah. So you're helping with literacy skills in English than with people that already know how to speak another language.
Yes.
Awesome. So did you have a supervisor while you were there?
Yes, Virginia.
Can you tell us about your relationship with Virginia?
She has tons of experience in the field. It's kind of made it her life's work.
Yeah.
So the enthusiasm from day one was like kind of infectious. She was the one leading the initial the open house, and I was like, like I want to be able to take on some of that enthusiasm. So it was really supportive, just asking what I needed, and kind of making sure to recap what was going on, what's working, what's not, and keeping it current rather than, sometimes you get put into a position, a job, a role where they're like, this is how you do it. Go forth and prosper. It was like, are you prospering? How can we help you do that?
So would you say Virginia was a mentor then?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay. So when you had a challenge while you were working with the literacy programs or the community garden, even we haven't even talked about that a little bit. How did you handle those challenges?
I sought out the people that I would hope knew the answer. So Virginia was the go-to. In the community garden, it was James Cook from the University of Maine Augusta, and Caleb James, also from the University of Maine Augusta. The community garden was a little different. I grew up on a farm, so I knew how to grow a few crops here and there. But you're in that specific, it was for the community to come in, and not everyone in the community knows how to garden, and kind of want their crops to do well. So if someone's not coming in for a while, everyone kind of like keeps an eye on things. So they know the work better than you do.
Yeah.
So listen to them.
Yeah. So you came into the community garden with expertise then.
I came in, yeah.
Yeah. So and this was a way for you to be able to translate that as working in a group as a team as both. When you were doing literacy programs, you were mainly working with and solving problems that you didn't have expertise in necessarily, but the community garden, you were solving problems you did have expertise with and working in a team.
Absolutely. With literacy, I know how to use a cell phone and computers, laptops, all that stuff. I am not an educator myself. I'm learning those skills now. So that was expanding on an interest and turning it into more of hard skills. With the community garden, I had the hard skills of knowing how to cultivate a crop. So I could then take that and share it with the community more directly.
Yeah, and you got to teach both times.
Got to teach both times.
Cool. Tell us about your favorite part of both experiences.
Honestly, with literacy, is seeing someone being able to do it on their own, and like the excitement of, I've wanted to do this for a while and I didn't think I could. I was worried. And then finding some way for me to translate for someone to do it. And in the community garden, there was a really, really great group of people. So if we were out, we'd try to kind of schedule times, like anyone could come whenever they wanted, but we tried to have a couple days a week where people could come in and commune together. And it's just go talk about what's going on in life with people that aren't like yourself, and you might not hang out with otherwise, but then you're like, I hang out with most of these people out. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. You get to connect somewhere that you wouldn't traditionally be able to.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I am interested about what you found that was the most surprising about your volunteer experiences.
Unsurprising.
Or surprising.
Oh, surprising.
Unsurprising. We can always talk about it. The most surprising thing that you learned.
Honestly, with like the literacy program, maybe to my own fault, I was thinking, oh, we're going to be teaching someone how to read books or like get better specifically at language. I didn't think that there was also be like health literacy, cooking literacy, technology. So I was like, oh, I was a little too close-minded there to think of what I could do with this. And with the community garden, I've done this over multiple years. When it rained all the time, how do you figure out how to make things work for everyone so that they stay engaged? So like keeping people engaged was kind of like the big curve there. And
for anybody that's watching or listening here, community gardens are notorious for people leaving about halfway through the summer, and then you end up watering and harvesting everything. So it is great when you have somebody that knows what they're doing and knows that is likely going to happen, or has worked on a farm before and knows what that looks like, so they can do it on their own.
Or they come back. Someone doesn't think, oh, 2 weeks is a long time. It's a very long time in the summer.
It's enough to roast your crops when it's out. So that's very cool. This is after on the page, but I'm just going to say, was it worth doing these experiences or keep doing these experiences?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell us why? For you?
For me, I've had a few years in the workforce before coming back to school, and you get so into the grind of what you're doing. It's nice to be able to have something outside of that where you're still moving forward. Because you know what, I could sit and watch Netflix or Disney Plus all day. I'm not moving much forward. There's no progress in that other than knowing more about, I don't know, what's going on in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
But it's something where I can feel productive in like a larger sense than myself. So I don't know, I'm kind of addicted to it.
That's it sounds pretty fulfilling, honestly. Do you think that your experience with volunteering have changed what you want to do with your career path? Do you agree?
Yeah, I kind of did. Luckily, I'm within social sciences and sociology. There's a lot of different things you can do, but I came in thinking more about focusing on policy and like the theories of all the social sciences. And I really like that. I really like the larger like research design of it. But when you start working with the community, I'm like, well, I can apply those types of skills to something that not like immediate in the moment, but rather than spending 3 years putting together a research project, maybe in the next 6 months, I could have something that I can see directly to me. And I like where I live. I like people. I want to give back to that. And I think there's something that is a different type of reward that I wasn't necessarily seeking out front. So I started looking at the different part, like the classes I took started to change that would go more into what I was finding out about myself in the work.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it was a little bit of everything. It was just like, oh, this is way more fun than what I thought I wanted to do, but trying something else out has kind of steered me into a different path. Yeah,
you get, I don't know, bitten by the bug type thing. You're like, oh, I just kind of need to get more of this.
You're one of many. Nobody else is on the panel to tell you that, but it's true. You come back with that. Do you have any advice for students that are seeking to do volunteer work? Or even if they're having a challenge finding work with internships or are searching for jobs and maybe want to enhance what they have with volunteering, do you have any advice for them in particular?
So a couple parts here. I think more so than the internship, where a lot of times we're supplementing whatever our degree path is directly. So you're looking for stuff that applies to your classes and you get this great experience that you will not get in the classroom. With volunteering, it's where you can more indulge in your interests and then see how those can turn into a career. So you find a cool volunteer program. A lot of these volunteer programs have community partners that could become your employers. Yeah. So it's another pathway to getting into employment, which isn't immediately visible a lot of times.
The networking part becomes very clear after about 3 months, and you're dependable. Then they're like, "Oh, we really need to keep you." And it's not necessarily some of the most glamorous jobs, but it does get your foot in the door most of the time. So, is there anything else you'd like to share?
I guess if someone like. Piece of the question that I didn't quite address is if someone's having trouble finding something or where do they look? There's always the Career Hub and all the stuff we have here at USM, but there's always stuff in your community that needs to be done.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't think to look to the city of Portland for volunteer opportunities, but there are events year round. Yeah. There's always literacy programs. There's always things with health. There's always something you can look for to do. So if you don't know how to directly find a volunteer position, just look where things that you're interested are going on in your community. And as always, talk to your faculty because a lot of people here are doing some form of volunteerism and they're just waiting for you to ask. So do.
Yes. And I will say, if you are interested at USM in volunteering, I am the Service Learning and Volunteering Specialist. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm TK. If you go into the Career Hub website where you got to go to for the live stream link, you can go into people, you can find me, you can book me. We can see if we can find to build a project out for you. The other cool part about volunteering is that it's not necessarily something that somebody's going to tell you what to do. If you see a problem or a solution for something in your community, go build it. You can find a collaborator. The city has grants and funds, and there's different organizations that work on different things. They're waiting for you to grab them and help them find how to address that need. So it's not just waiting and seeing and doing these things. You can take a proactive part of your community before you're even part of the career items or looking at internships. And the great thing is that you can commit for 3 months for once a week, and it's a low-term impact item, or you could do 5 days a week. It really is up to you and depends on your schedule and depends on what community partner you work with. We can open it up for Q&A now with all of us. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and thank you, Joseph, for sharing a little bit about your experience.